Hi, we have with us today Saiyami Kher and Harshvardhan Kapoor and director Rakeysh Omprakash Mehra, and they're going to talk to us about the labor of their love, Mirzya. Your previous films have been very like socio-political drama space, and this is your first love story. What drove you to make those films, and now what drove you to make this love story?
It's going to be a long answer. So if you ask me what drove me to make those films, so I think if you don't mind, we'll pass that because it's a lot of experiences in life, what I had seen, what I had observed since my childhood, to a point, what moved me, what made me angry about what's going on around me. Looking at people, looking at intolerance and religion, the whole corruption. My heart goes out for the defense warriors of this country, the airborne warriors, the pilots, and so many things. But coming back to Mirzya, I think it's a journey which I had to travel through. My first film, Aks, and then Rang De Basanti, Delhi 6, Bhag Milka Bhag. And only after going through that journey, I think Mirzya was possible for me to attempt a movie. Couple of reasons there. The starting point at the genesis of it is everybody wants to tell a love story. And not just for the sake of telling a love story, because somewhere or the other we've been touched by love at some point in our life. So we want to share it in a way. And if we are not touched, we want to find it in a way. And most often is a bit of both of them. So Mirzya has been this journey where one has, at one level, started looking for true love, whether it exists in today's time. So the device was to juxtapose it with an eternal love story.
You created two different worlds. The old era almost looks fantastical. What was the idea behind that? And also, how did you decide on the setting for the current era?
Well, it's not one at a time. That and an era like you described so well, fantastical. So and it's an evergreen era. It's timeless. It's eternal. That was the endeavor. But however, that was a reflection of the major part of the story which is set in today's time in Rajasthan. So the way the story was told in today's time, it was juxtaposed. It's so real, and the characters are as real as they can get. Not just in the word of it or the writing or on the page, but the way also they've been played out. With a very new approach towards performances, a very new approach towards capturing the performances, a new approach towards how we design the music of the film or the choreography around it, and the whole telling of it, and actually the acting of it is very new. So it was as real as they could get. The characters, and especially the lead actors who play the character of Harsh plays Adil, and Saiyami plays Suchi. And their relationship, their conflicts, their love, their daring to love as such. So when you're watching something which is so true and so real, it always felt correct that when you juxtapose it with another era, it should be fantastical. And so the meaning of that somewhere creeps into the unseen performances in today's time, and you start adding everything up. So it's like a complex algorithm, but when you see it play out, it's very simple. what goes behind it is not important. It's actually how you experience it. It becomes very seamless, very true, very simple story being told.
You also did that in Rang De Basanti, the juxtaposing. And when you were writing this, did this also flow naturally? I mean, this is how it was conceived since the beginning?
You have to give it to Gulzar Bhai, and that's his magic and how he weaved it in. And when I went to him, to be very honest, I went to him with the folklore of Mirza Sahiba. And it was somewhere down the line in a discussion, and I didn't know who came up with it first and how it happened. The urge was to connect it to today's time. So this whole journey happened. Yes, there will be a parable with Rang De Basanti. There's the same maker. It feels like the same non-linear kind. It's a good parable. It's a good example and a very tough act to follow, especially with the success and the cult status the earlier film achieved. But it's very different as such. There it was the spirit of an era gone by, which comes into the same people. And they're acting in one film, so it's like an actor. You're playing a role, and that role overpowers you, so you start believing. Yeah, so there are actually the writer Kamlesh Pandey, who wrote the thing, he thought there's an amazing film in the history of cinema. It's called Sant Tukaram. The actor who played the role, after that, actually started believing his Sant Tukaram. And he went on the street singing songs, and that was it. He just became that. He became Sant Tukaram for the rest of his life. He forgot he was an actor. So we took that parable and we said, can this happen to the generation today? Can Bhagat Singh happen? But out here in Mirzya is very different as such. It's not the spirit. It's not a reincarnation. What it says is actually that love, true love, is eternal. It can cross over centuries and yet you feel the same. And everything has changed around us. The speed of light, जिसको जिंदगी की रफ्तार कहते हैं हम लोग रॉकेट पे बैठ के चांद पे जा रहे हैं और प्लेन में बैठ के इधर उधर we are jet setting. Cars are on the streets and everything, internet, we are so connected. So everything is so fast. That's what we talk about, the pace of life, right? But the pace of your heart, it's still beating at the same rate. Before all these inventions happened and the pace became faster. And it's going to beat the same way for the next 5,000 years. I don't think that will change. So that is where the story is, that love is eternal. And so I have to give it to the actors that they played two roles and they need to take a bow for that because it is their first film. I never shared with them that how difficult it will be. So, but I think somewhere deep down they knew what they were getting into. So we have to give it to both of them that in the first film they enter and they actually play out two roles which are dramatically different, but they are tied up with the umbilical cord as such. So that finer grain in the performance is something which they were working subconsciously, and I'm sure we'll understand a lot more as we go along, and all of us will realize and it will fall upon us.
Like you were saying, you both are playing two characters in two different eras, and you have put in a lot of work behind it, 3 years. What was the preparation like to meet the vision that he had? I know you went through a lot of training and you injured yourself as well a couple of times. That is the physical aspect of it, and also preparing for the emotional aspect of the role.
The injuries were actually on set while filming, not during the preparation. The preparation itself was very long, very hard. One had to be very patient, had to persevere a lot. Had to constantly wake up every morning believing in themselves that this is going to be achievable at the end of it. And keep thinking of the end goal, I think, And also keep taking it each day at a time, So there was a lot of riding, there was a lot of archery, then there was mounted archery, then there was polo, there was riding a bike, then there was riding a bike on sand, then there was riding a bike on sand double, which is very different, and riding on your own. And I think all of these physical things also really helped emotionally, which is something people don't realize. They think it's kind of like a parallel thing, but it's actually a simultaneous thing. A lot of the emotion comes from the physical, the work that you put in. Eventually, when you think of that's sometimes enough to get you going, so.
Like Harsh said, and like you said, I mean, there is no substitute to hard work. Everyone works hard, so it's not like a big deal that, every film, everyone puts in a lot of effort. So we both had to learn how to horse ride. I had to learn how to ride the bike. So I found it very exciting that I got to do these things. Physically, sir wanted both of us also to look a little different for both our characters. So that a little effort went into that. But I feel that the emotional journey of both the characters, it was extremely demanding. So to emotionally become Suchi and then emotionally become Sahiban, that I feel was extremely challenging. Every actor, I think, has his own way of getting into character or, approaching a scene in a particular way. So Harsh's methods not necessarily are my methods, So Harsh was somebody who was he's a complete method actor. So he wanted to live like Adil. He used to live in his room, he's not come out of his room and things like that. For me personally, I like writing, so I used to write a lot of stuff as Suchi. And I hope all this translates on screen, we've put the efforts in. We just hope that we've been able to live up to the vision of Rakeysh sir and Gulzar Sahab.
I also think, talking about this whole method thing, I think you're not trying to do it to convince other people. Like, you're trying to do it to convince yourself. So I'm not unnecessarily going to do something if it makes me exhausted and then I'm not going to be able to deliver on the day. Just because then people will talk about that I did something. You have to do just enough, whatever works for you. But then the idea is to always maintain your energy and look presentable and look good on the day of shoot as well. So, for example, you can sleep probably on the real location, or you can sleep in your room. That sleeping in your room will make sure that it'll make you feel better the next day. You'll have more energy. So I feel that's unnecessary. So there's kind of a fine line. I think there are things you do within your kind of limitations that make you feel closer to the character. But it's also very important to balance that with your real life. So you don't completely exhaust yourself before the process even starts. Because then you get into the logistics of filming, and then there are the own set of challenges that kind of come with that. So you have to kind of leave a lot in the tank for that as well, which is why you need time, right? Because if you're trying to squeeze everything into 1 month and 2 months and then trying to go 16, 17, 18 hours a day on it, then your work is eventually going to suffer, And so luckily, because of the way Mehra works, we had that luxury, So we could really go all the way with it. Sometimes you may have to deliver in a short space of time, just because maybe the that film requires that, or you don't have that kind of liberty, So you adapt to situations, So yeah.
You've grown up in a film family. I'm sure that has influenced you a lot. But also there are influences, I guess, from your studies abroad in California and your film course. Tell me about how both of these things have contributed to your process of acting and how they've influenced you, the way you look at cinema and your acting.
Nobody's asked me this question, which is fantastic, about the whole Los Angeles thing. So basically Chapman University, and we talk a little bit about it. I don't talk too much about it. I don't know why I should. Best 4 years of my life. I had the chance to go to USC, right? They were taking me. I had the chance to go to UCLA as well. I chose not to be in Los Angeles. I chose to be in Orange County. Orange County is a suburb that's 40 minutes away from Los Angeles. It's by the beach. The reasons why I chose to kind of be there is because in USC, there are 50 kids per professor. In Chapman, there are 15 or 14 kids per professor. It makes a very, very big difference. Also in Los Angeles, I went to LA a lot to kind of have a good time as a freshman, and I realized that it's such a crazy city that you don't have peace of mind. It's like any other big wild city, right? Like, so you're not kind of isolated there with your thoughts. And I was doing a writing program, and I can't imagine like trying to write at all there. And like USC is like in downtown LA, which is like a really busy place, and so I kind of made that decision to kind of go to Chapman, which is basically Orange County is a beach town, and it's extremely laid back, like there are a lot of surfers there, and all the film kids that kind of come to Chapman are all very alternative thinkers. USC is more of like the George Lucas legacy and all of that, the whole mainstream Hollywood thing. So the whole culture at Chapman was to kind of have very intimate classes, share your stories with people. You see the same faces around all the time, which is great, and then you go back to your house, which is like probably 5 minutes away from the beach, and then you're kind of alone with thoughts and films, and you have like really the whole culture of like kids going out in Orange County is taking your girlfriend to the movies, or it's very simple. It's like very, very simple, which was great, and we used to have like these screenings of films from all over the world, and like we would all like sit and like go to a friend's place and kind of talk about it. Maybe in SC or LA I would not have had the same experiences, so I think it kind of shaped me a lot. Actually, it made me very laid back, first of all. I didn't get too driven away by the whole LA studio kind of thing and wanting to do those kinds of films, and I would recommend it as a college to anybody that ends up watching this and wants to go and study film. It's really amazing. It's fantastic. And I was a screenwriting major. The guy that was doing my senior thesis was an Oscar winner. He wrote the screenplay for The Sting and Sleepless in Seattle. So we had an Academy Award-winning teacher who would come to class and give us notes on our scripts. And there were literally 12 or 14 of us, So that was like how empowered we felt. And so you walk in with your script, and if you had 5 characters, you would assign like, I want him to read this part, and we would read each other's scripts, So I think to have that kind of experience so early on, it really kind of shaped my way of thinking. Yeah.
Did you consider getting into script writing or direction at that point, or were you sure you wanted to?
I think so. I was a screenwriting major. So you need like 120 credits to graduate. Each class is 3 credits. So you would do screenwriting every semester, but then you would also have alternative classes. And whenever I had a chance, I would do acting. So we had Screen Acting 101, and then we had this class called Acting for Writing Majors. It was called Actor-Writer Workshop. So they would take all of us writers, and I mean, luckily for me, I always had like this acting thing. A lot of the other poor guys were like proper writers, It's like you're making us act, like what's going on. So they were like really like introverted, and I'm introverted, but they were like even worse than me, like most like a lot of writers. And so it was basically to understand what an actor kind of thinks when he picks up your script and kind of reads it, which is very important, because I think acting and writing are the most intertwined, So those classes that were like 6 months each really made me kind of realize how much I enjoyed acting. And I think that's kind of when I went and took the decision. When I went there thinking writing is something I want to do right now, because script is the most important thing. Without script, there's no film. I went there to understand actually what I want to do, and then I kind of got the answer somewhere midway through that program.
You also come from a film family, but you were away from the limelight. You were away from Bombay. You grew up very differently. Are there still any influences in your life when you were growing up, or did the process start much later?
The biggest influence of my life is Sachin Tendulkar. He has nothing to do with film. I've said this many times, but my life revolved around sport as a kid. My parents took a conscious decision to bring up my sister and me in a smaller town. They were both models. I think they were many years ago, but they were both models, and my grandmom used to act. But they wanted us to have an upbringing in a smaller town where, life is not about films, only about films, or life is not only about video games and stuff like that. So because life is more than just films, you know, there is the film world, but it's much bigger than that. So I feel that has really helped me a lot in my whatever little acting that I've done, you know, because once you are one with nature, it plays a big role, I feel, in acting. So I feel influences in my life have not been from people who are like Shabana Masi or Tanvi Bua, I call her Atya. So it hasn't been from them because I didn't grow up in that filmy atmosphere. But influences have been from nature, from sport, from restauranting, from human people who you interact with. So it's been from there. It's been from villagers.
I read somewhere that you actually represented your college in 9 different sports at some point.
So I got in because of sport. I got into college because of sport, and I just needed an excuse to bunk college. So I ended up playing badminton, cricket, handball, throwball, volleyball, swimming, table tennis, basketball, and cricket. Did I say? It's 9 sports. But no, just football. Besides football, I played pretty much everything for college.
So both of you coming from different backgrounds, very different characters, for your first film coming together, I can see when I see the songs and stuff, I think I see the two characters come together, I can see the chemistry. So how much did you work on that? Did you workshop? And how did you, of course, apart from his amazing direction, but in your way as actors, how did you prepare for that chemistry, or how did that work?
Yeah, it's been, I always wonder when you speak to actors about chemistry. So actually in a lab, if there's a test tube and you put 2 chemicals in, they really don't know that they're going to meet each other. And then something happens. Some magic happens. Boom, the test tube explodes. Or they change into you put a white liquid, an orange liquid, and it becomes a beautiful purple. Or there's these amazing bubbles which come out, and maybe if you drink it, you become invisible. So really, the chemistry is something which happens. Either it happens or it doesn't happen. You can work your life at it. It's very much like marriage. It's very much like friendship. It happened, and we are all very happy that it happened. Sorry, I butted in. It was her turn, but it happened for them. And why it happened? Because they came with a clean heart and a conscience, and then try to influence that chemistry. Otherwise, it would look fake. It will look made out, acted out. They let it happen, and because I was behind the camera and I was observing, and they were right into it. So they just let that space happen, and it happened. So it's so beautiful, and it's actually beautiful.
Harsh, I want to ask you that it's inevitable, the comparison that's going to happen once the film releases. Are you up for it, and how do you view it?
You know, I think there's quite a bit of footage that's out from the film. Like, between the 4 songs, the 2 teasers and the theatrical trailer, it's about 10, 12 minutes of the film, 10, 11 minutes of the film, which is scary actually. But it's true. But there were no comparisons so far. So, I don't know. I mean, let's see what happens once the film releases, but I'm not feeling instinctively like there will be too many. I don't know why. You know, but I mean, if they do happen, then it's good. Then I'd entertain them. You know, I'd like to ask people, why do you think that? You know, I think some people may just get nostalgic and stuff like that, and you know. But do you think? I don't think I sound like my dad at all. What do you think, Sam? Voice? No. Yeah. My eyes are not like my dad. My eyes are more like my mom's. Same with the eyelashes and the eyebrows. Arishta, I'm giving an honest answer. Yeah, so actually, honest, Sonam and I look more like from the mum side of the family. Ria looks more like her dad.
So, more than your dad, are you scared that you'll be compared to Sonam and you'll have to match her style sense?
I generally look like I'm homeless. So that's, I think, something that I need to tackle now. because a lot of people have a lot of opinions about the clothes that you wear, but I just don't like dressing up. You know, that's the thing. So, like on Mirzya, I didn't have too many costume changes, which is great. Yeah, and I mean, as Mirza, there was, I think, one costume. One. And as Adil, maybe three or four, which was amazing. I didn't realize what a luxury that was until I signed Bhavesh Joshi. I keep telling Vikramaditya Motwane, I think he's making a Karan Johar film. I keep asking him in between takes if he's really the director of Udaan and Lutera, because it doesn't seem like that. Because I have 15 changes a day and it's horrible. But I mean, that's because we're doing a lot of montage stuff. But to answer your question, I'm not really into clothes, you know, so... but, you know, then there are a lot of men that are really not into clothes so much, and they're the most fashionable men. Like James Dean is the leather jacket, right? It's always that one thing. It's always that one thing. So I hope I find that one thing.